Hello everyone and welcome back to Animation Pilgrimage, the show where Tennille and I take a look at every single theatrically released animated film in chronological order. I'm Sean.
I'm Tennille.
And today we are looking at the 1977 film The Wild Swans
from Toei Animation,
Japan.
Yep.
Yeah. And before we get too far, I want to say thank you to Yuko Kagami for finding this film for us so that we could watch it in the first place.
It's shocking with, how well established Toei is that a lot of these films are hard to get a hold of.
Yeah, like they might be...
I don't get it.
I feel like they might be easier to get a hold of in Japan.
Yeah.
But like...
Because I think a lot of these, especially these older ones, have never actually been released in America.
Yeah.
But even still, it's kind of shocking that...
There isn't just like a collection or anything.
Yeah, there's just not really many ways for like Americans or English-speaking countries to get a hold of them.
I feel like there would definitely be...
interest in that kind of thing?
Yeah, a market for just like a collection of Japanese only with like subtitles collection of old Toei films.
Mm-hmm. And this is where I have to make a couple of assumptions because I don't have a whole lot of information on Toei. I have the things that I can look up online and stuff, but there's still a bit of that cultural barrier, and I unfortunately don't have any history books. Like, I have quite a few animation history books, but none of them that really go into Toei, and a lot of, I will fully admit a lot of my books are more Western animation centric than they are Eastern. And, so I'm kind of in the dark when it comes to a lot of Toei stuff, which is why a lot of times for these we're kind of like just a review of the film, and that's it, because I'm usually not able to find much info on the movies themselves. That being said, I did try to do a bit of a deeper dive this time, because I feel like there's got to be something going on. And I was able to actually find, a little bit of relevant information.
Okay, cool.
So, and none of it's on The Wild Swans.
Oh.
So, I'll get this out of the way first, and then we can go into talking about this movie. So, recently we've seen Toei kind of make a comeback to these fairy tale type stories, which is not strange, but it did seem like they were going in a different direction for a while. Like they were doing more like sci-fi stuff.
Yeah.
And then like just these last few years we've seen them go back to fairy tales and like pretty strict adaptations of fairy tales. Like The Little Mermaid in this film.
And I guess there was the Puss in Boots film, but that was still an adaptation.
An adaptation of a book.
Yeah, Around the World in 80 Days.
And so that was the part that kind of piqued my interest. Well, it turns out that there is another studio in Japan called Nippon Animation, and this is currently where some former Toei people are working, including Miyazaki and Takahata. They are helping a series that Nippon Animation does called World Masterpiece Theater, where essentially they're animating books and fairy tales.
Like for television, I'm assuming?
Yeah, just series. Like one of their series right now, or like right now in 77 is Anne of Green Gables. And Miyazaki's working on, like, Heidi and Pippi Longstocking.
That's interesting.
I know, I'm, like, super interested now. I kind of want to see what these looked like. But, like, apparently, and I hadn't heard of this before, this World Masterpiece Theater thing is something that, like, they did for a really long time. Like, it's only recently just started again, which is why I think Toei is maybe, like, kind of riding on those coattails.
They're trying to competitive.
Yeah, like, I don't think there's necessarily, I mean, I don't know if there's any nastiness going on, or, like, you know, we're trying to...
Just general competitiveness?
Yeah, I think it's just more of like, oh, fairy tales are back in, so we're also doing fairy tales now.
What? Japan capitalize on trends that are popular and exploit it to hell and back? I'm sure this won't be a problem ever.
Yeah, no. But yeah, no, like, this World Masterpiece Theater thing was something they did yearly for, like, up until 1992, is what it looks like.
Damn.
Yeah, so it's like, wow, that's cool. But Miyazaki left Toei in 1971, so he's been gone from the
studio
company
for like
a
6
while.
years now.
Yeah, he's been working on Lupin the Third, and I think it's pretty safe to say that, you know, Animation Pilgrimage is all about the theatrically released films. But in Japan, it's probably pretty safe to say that the revolutionary stuff isn't necessarily happening in the films.
No, it's definitely all about television in Japan.
But
And
I just have no idea how to cover that.
we can't do it on Animation Pilgrimage. It's
No,
its
it would have to be its own thing, and like I just wouldn't even know where to start.
No, and that's the thing. There are many sources out there, all over YouTube and stuff, that do cover all Japanese animation. Like, there are a lot of anime channels out there.
Yeah.
We're not one of them, really.
Yeah.
At least not yet. Who knows? Maybe after we finish Animation Pilgrimage, we'll like do a different series where we do a deeper dive on television itself. But that's so
daunting.
It kind of terrifies me, honestly.
Animation Pilgrimage is a daunting project by itself.
It's like we set those stipulations on ourselves of only theatrically released films because we know we'll never finish otherwise. And even still, we've been doing this for 3 years. We've been doing this for 3 years and we've only made it to 77. We are still 43 years behind the current date.
Yeah.
And it just gets more and more dense with each passing year.
But, yeah.
I'm enjoying it.
Oh, yeah,
I'm definitely enjoying
absolutely.
it, but I have no idea when we'll even conceivably finish.
But it does make me very, you know, you reach a point where you, like, feel like you have a pretty good grasp on something, and then, like, you break through that ceiling, and you're like, oh, wait, I don't know anything.
And it's that way with Japanese animation. Like,
Right.
I don't know what's going on, and, like, I don't know what their production cycle or anything, or what's the hotness at all
Hotness, yeah.
during this time. It's like, oh, I can't even start.
But anyway, The Wild Swans.
We'll talk about the film we watched. The Wild Swans. It was only an hour long, which was a little surprising. A lot of the general trend for movies right now seems to be an hour and 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Which, that's a decent time.
As someone going through this project, I appreciate this time. An hour and 15 minutes. That means even if your movie's bad, it's not horrible to sit through. Luckily, this wasn't a bad film.
No, in fact, this was a fairly good film from Toei.
Yeah.
Like, I think it's one of their better ones in quite a while.
Yeah.
It takes itself seriously again. Or, like, it's a fairly serious adaptation. The Wild Swans. We've done this one before, but we've only done it, like, once from Russia?
Yes, and interesting to note is that this adaptation of it is actually both kind of a combination of the Hans Christian Andersen story and the Brothers Grimm story, The Six Swans, or something like that. They combine elements of both.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, anyways.
They're two very kind of similar stories.
I believe it.
Yeah.
Story synopsis. There's a king, and he goes out in the woods hunting a deer, and he's bamboozled by magic, and suddenly he comes across a witch and her beautiful daughter, who he immediately marries, and
I'm sure nothing bad will happen.
No, of course not.
Yeah.
His previous wife and him had 7 children, 6 boys and 1 daughter, and they live in a magic little cottage out in the woods where you
Per the deceased mother's request.
Yeah, they live out there so that no badness can happen to them or something, and the only way to find them is with a magic yarn ball.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the new queen finds the magic...
Is a witch!
Is a witch, too, because of course she is.
Yeah.
She takes the magic yarn ball, goes out there and like, hello, my new children, and all the little boys are like, awesome, hi, Mom, and she's like, become swans.
And go away, I hate you.
Yeah. It's like, just like, hello, how's it going? Boom, swans.
Yeah.
Cloth into swans. It's just like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
She never gets a point where she's like on screen like, meh, I'm evil. She's just like, I swan.
I'm a stepmother, so you know where this is going.
Hey, you're dead.
Yeah.
And she tries to get the little girl too, but her brothers protect her, and she runs off into the woods. And then she runs around in the woods.
She has a very Snow White moment.
Yeah, Snow White moment out in the middle of the woods, and she's comforted by her tear imaginary friends, which are a weird thing. We're your friends, but you can only summon us through
Crying.
through sadness.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a weird way to...
It makes more sense why they chose to include these characters later on in the film when Elise, that's the name of the girl, it has to take a vow of silence. Also, I'm just noticing now, this is another Hans Christian Andersen where a woman is forced to take a vow of silence.
Oh, yeah. He has themes that he likes. Anyway, she wanders through the woods for a while, and then she happens to come across a cave far away where her brothers are, and the curse is that they are swans during the day, but then they turn back into their human forms at night. But apparently they're swans and they don't like hot places, so they go to cold places during the winter, which I think is backwards, but I could be wrong. I don't know that much about swans. Contrivedness, they're going to go away during the summer.
Yeah.
And apparently, after 6 years of the curse being put on them, if they don't take thistles and, like, turn them into string and sew 6 shirts made out of thistles and then put them on within the 6 years. Oh, and they can't speak while they do it. If they don't do all of that, they will stay swans forever. But if they do this task and then they talk during that time, they die.
Yes.
They just instantly die. And the goody two-shoes sister, being Elise, being the best, most amazing sister ever, decides she's going to take this task on for them.
Wouldn't it be faster if they just all did it together?
Yeah, and they, like, just never talked. But I guess the issue there is, like, oh, if we're all around each other, we might talk to each other or something.
We'd be too tempted.
I mean,
okay, sure.
We'd be too tempted to talk to each other. Like, but if you guys just work together, you'd be done in, like...
a few days.
A year,
maybe.
Okay,
granted. The way they set this up is that it essentially takes Elise 6 years.
It takes her the whole 6 years to get these done.
To sew 6 sweaters. And I'm just like...
Girl, you are so slow. I mean, the sewing process takes the least amount of time, I'm sure. It's the actual collecting, but then turning the thistles into actual string to use is probably the most time-consuming process. Either way, so she does it. She hides herself away from the brothers for the 6 years. Time passes. Hunters find her in the middle of the woods. They take her back to hit their local king. That guy is like, dude, she's hot. I'm gonna marry her.
What's your name?
What's your name? Can't say anything, or else my brothers will die.
Yeah.
And
she's just like frantically
sewing away.
And like holding her basket.
It's like, no, I need these. You're not allowed to have them. It's like,
they keep trying to throw it in the fire and
like she keeps like having to go and get it. And the king's like, you know what? You're a weird girl, but you can keep it. Just hold on to it. It makes you happy, obviously. I don't understand, but whatever.
Uh-huh.
Well, lo and behold, unlike the last adaptation of The Wild Swans, the evil stepmother comes back because their father found out what she did and immediately dumped her ass. So the witch comes back with her mother in tow to this new kingdom, and then they see, oh no, it's her, the girl that got away. Well, now we need to...
I'm amazed she recognizes her. It's been 6 years.
It's 6 years. She looks completely different.
One time from far away.
Magic.
Yeah,
it's
whatever. Movie logic.
So they are trying to sabotage Annalise. Elise. Why can I not remember that? They're trying to sabotage Elise to get the daughter married to the new king.
Mm-hmm.
The
witch lady married to the new king. Yeah.
They frame Elise as a witch herself by poisoning the water main and then blaming it on her and saying she's a witch, she won't talk.
Look how weird she is. She's always sewing those clothes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Obviously a witch, weird witch things. Mm-hmm. If she doesn't scream when I stab her with a needle, she's obviously a witch.
Oh, that was so uncomfortable.
That's very uncomfortable. Torturing young adult characters.
Because, it's not even like she needs to take a vow of silence where, she's not allowed to speak. She's not allowed to make noise.
Yeah, if she makes any audible noise from her mouth hole, she will...
Kill her brothers
immediately.
Yeah.
Well, so she's thrown in jail and she's going to be burned at the stake, but they let her keep her sewing stuff because the king still is... The king inherently is still really conflicted about it because he still thinks she's a cool girl. Mm-hmm. But he's sad that she's a witch or whatever, so he lets her have her stuff.
Right.
And then she's literally on the pyre, and she finishes the last...
Falling away!
She, finishes the last one, and then just folds it up and puts it back in her basket. It looks really sad because...
She has no way of getting it to him.
And movie magic, her brothers find her.
Doesn't the prince, technically do something to summon them?
No.
Or
he does nothing.
They just magically find her.
Yeah.
Okay. I feel like the movie gave some reasoning behind it.
The king prays. The brothers are just like, we found you through sibling... No, there is no reason.
Okay.
They did not give any good reason.
I thought it was a weak reason, but it was a reason.
There is no reason other than, familial bonds or some crap.
Right.
Well, anyways, they
sensed a disturbance in the force.
They show up and they stop through scattering feathers everywhere. They stop the fire.
Mm-hmm. Questionable, but alright.
Alright, that seems like you'd have the opposite effect, but I don't know that much about feathers, I guess.
Yeah.
She throws the clothes on them, they turn back into humans. The king is like, well, obviously that's witchy, but, the brothers explain what happened, and then he finds out that she has a name, and she can talk, and it's all explained. Alright, throw the actual witches...
Not on a fire.
No, they wanted to burn the actual witches, but then Elise is like, no, set them free. We must be better people and show them kindness, even though they would absolutely are just going to go to another kingdom and try to do something similar again.
Yeah.
But, yeah, that's it. The Elise gets married to the king. They live happily ever after. The curse is gone.
Mm-hmm. So... Things that I really liked about this film.
Yes.
I like that it's a very cinematic film.
Yes.
It's widescreen. Everything's told in a very, cinematic way. However, that's also kind of a blessing and a curse. Because some of the more outrageous fairy tale logic things... Because it's shown in a more cinematic way.
Cinematic and serious way. It's harder for it to make sense.
Out of it. Yep. Yeah, because you're like, wait, but why? Yeah, things just don't quite make sense. However, on that front too, I am happy that I don't have the same problem with this film that I had with the last Toei film we watched with Little Mermaid, where I feel like it stuck too closely to the source material and wasn't willing to change, elements of it to make it a better story. In the Russian version of this film, there were some segments where why is this here?
Yeah,
that whole racist segment.
Yeah, really racist, terrible things happen.
And then the fact that, the witch in the beginning who curses them all to be swans doesn't show up again ever.
Yeah, she's just gone for good.
Yeah, and the whole second part of the movie where, like, she's in this kingdom and she's, like, sewing these sweaters.
It's just random other people that do that.
Yeah, it's not linked at all. And I think changing the story so that those two elements are linked makes for a better, stronger story.
Yes.
So, that's good. I don't think this is one that I would still recommend because it is still pretty just mediocre.
I'd recommend it. It's the best Toei thing we've seen in a very long time.
Right.
Like, honestly, I think this is the best Toei film since Horus. In my opinion, at least.
It still doesn't hold a candle to Horus.
Oh,
though.
no, of course not. But, like, it's closer than most everything else.
Mm-hmm. It's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think that's going to be it for this episode.
Mm-hmm.
Join us back here next time as we have another
Oh my god.
adaptation of a story that we've seen many times.
And we will see many more.
Gulliver's Travels.
Yep. It's back.
Again.
Toodaloo.
どこなのどこなの